So you've got a new baby, and their sleep, or lack thereof sleep, is starting to affect your own sleep. And you're wondering, what's going on? Am I doing something wrong? Is he nocturnal? Is she defective? Am I just a horrible parent? You just want answers. Well, stick around. In this video, we'll talk about newborn sleep, how their sleep differs from your own sleep, and what you can do to best support them and yourself to get the best possible sleep. Hey everybody, my name is Zach. Welcome to the channel. I'm a videographer and a children's pastor, but more importantly than that, I'm a husband and a father. And my wife and I just recently had our second child, and we've been walking through all of the stages and struggles of newborn sleep, lack thereof sleep actually. And I mean, after getting 2 or 3 nights in a row of less than 4 hours of sleep, I was at my wit's end, just wanting to figure out, why is my son not sleeping the way that we want him to? Why is he not sleeping the way his sister did? And so I did a lot of research, and I thought I would share with you some of the things that I learned, because maybe you're going through the same sort of thing. The first thing to be aware of when it comes to newborn sleep, and I'm sure you're probably already aware of this, but newborns sleep way more than adults. I've heard a lot of different people talk about how much they sleep, different doctors, websites, videos. They all say different numbers, but a rough estimate is newborns need somewhere around 14 to 18 hours of sleep a day. And obviously, we know they don't sleep in one long stretch or 2 or 3. Typically, a newborn is sleeping anywhere from 2 to 3 hour stretches. And during the day, this can be really, really nice when they're asleep for that long. But it can be really, really hard when your kid is only getting 2 to 3 hours during the night. But the question is, why is it that newborns sleep so much? After doing some research, I found a couple of different reasons, one of which is because newborns still feel like they're inside the womb. And while a baby is in the womb, they're getting around 80% of their time asleep. So this doesn't change the moment they enter the world. They have to have this sort of transition period where they move out of what they were used to in the womb, and they start moving into what we as parents help them to identify as their sleep schedule. But another reason they sleep so much is they just need it. It's a biological need for babies, but for all of us as well. But with babies, they aren't fully developed when they're born. Even a full-term baby, there's still a lot of development that takes place after birth. Which, I mean, we know this, right? Like, we know that our brains aren't fully developed until we're in our early 20s. But for babies, they need this sleep in those early weeks and months to help their brains develop. Their sleep supports their behavior, their emotions, their developmental growth. It helps them be more attentive and alert when they're awake. It helps them simply grow and learn. And so sleep is crucial for babies. But when can we as parents start getting them to sleep the way that we want them to, and not in just these 2 to 3 hour stretches? For Emma and I, we really don't start introducing any sort of strict sleep schedule until our kids are at like 3 or 4 weeks older. And in those first couple of weeks, we're just kind of letting them adjust to the newness of being in the world. And this means adjusting to the world around them. They need sleep, and their bodies will adjust over time. We don't really need to force it right away, but instead we just need to let their bodies start to adjust before we push them to growth right away. With this though, that means that those first couple of weeks are usually the hardest. Some babies have their days and nights mixed up, like our son did. Some babies wake themselves up with their startle reflex, and then some just struggle because of exterior factors. And all of these things can add up and make you as a parent just want to pull your hair out. For me, I think the hardest part was always feeling like there wasn't anything I could do. But after doing some research, I kind of saw that there actually is certain things that we can do. There's ways that we can help our kids and in turn help ourselves. Okay, so starting off with the day and night confusion, because this was the big one that my son struggled with. I mean, there was literally like multiple days in a row where the kid didn't sleep through the night because, I mean, like sleep long stretches in the night. Like we were up for probably 3 or 4 hours one night just because he would not go to sleep because he had this day-night confusion. And so it can be really, really hard when your kid is sleeping great through the day, but then awake through the night. And it turns out this is actually a pretty common confusion for newborns. And while kids will eventually grow out of it, there are definitely some things that we as parents can do to help our kids move them to a more normal sleep schedule. The first thing is just utilizing light. During the day, get your kid in sunlight as much as possible. Open up the windows, take them for walks, turn lights on, turn lamps on. We're just trying to get their bodies to learn that they're supposed to be awake during the day. And we did this with my son, brought him on a lot of walks, left him in his bassinet right next to the window where the sun was shining on him, all these things. Then on the flip side, during the night, make sure that you're keeping your kid's room as dark as possible. Put up blackout curtains in their room, keep their bedroom doors shut when they're asleep. And if you actually need to use a light when you go into feed or change a diaper, don't just turn on the light switch in the room, but use a soft, dim light that won't abruptly wake them up. Eventually, their bodies will start to learn that they're supposed to be awake during the daylight hours and asleep during the nighttime hours. The next tip is to keep their daytime naps to a certain time. As nice as it can be to let your kid sleep for as long as they want, during those naps, it's actually really detrimental to their nighttime sleep. So when you cut down their daytime sleep, that helps them be more tired at night. Keeping it around 2 hours is kind of what we've done, and that has then helped those evening sleep times stretch out longer throughout the night. Now, another thing that can be a big annoyance for us as parents is when we work so hard to get our kids to sleep and then they just startle themselves awake. There's this thing, the startle reflex, that's really normal with kids, and it's actually called the Moro reflex, which is just, I think, a sign of like their nervous system not being fully developed, which when I first saw that, I was like, is that a problem? But it actually works itself out over time. It's nothing really to be worried about, but it just means that that Moro reflex can be a real pain in the butt for their sleep schedule. Luckily, there's one big way to kind of combat that Moro reflex, and that's to swaddle your baby. Swaddling your baby actually does two things. One, it helps with that Moro reflex, but two, it simulates what they would have felt in the womb. For some of us as adults, we may hate the idea of our arms being pinned together and unable to move, but to babies, this is what they're used to, and it's actually comforting to them. So swaddles help babies feel like they're back in the womb. They also help with the Moro reflex because when they have this reflex, typically their arms or their legs fly into the air, and that's what awakens them. But with their arms pinned to their side, they're more likely to either sleep through that reflex, or if they are awakened, it's not as abrupt and jerky. Sure, that's the word we're gonna go with. And so hopefully they can go back to sleep a lot easier. Now, there are tons of different swaddles out there. Some kids prefer one over the other. Some kids use one at certain points of the days and another at a certain point. Our daughter used one for her nap times during the day and then a different one for her evening naps. And then as she got older, she switched to a different one. Our son hated all swaddles we had. We tried every single swaddle on him and he did not like it. Eventually my wife found one that's kind of like a weighted blanket element to it, which to me sounds amazing, and it's been a huge lifesaver. He loves it. So the downside to swaddles is that you may have to try a few before you find one that is actually the one that your kid likes the best. So I'll link down below the one that's working best for our son right now, and hopefully it can be helpful to you as well. I think my wife actually has a code for it. Other than the Moro reflex, kids can be startled awake by a whole bunch of things, right? Loud noises, light, your other children, your dog, the garbage truck, someone ringing the doorbell, just to name a few that we have a lot. But obviously you can't cut out every little thing that may wake your kid up during the night. But the two big things that you can do is to help, like I said earlier, darken the room. But then the other one is to utilize a sound machine. Using a sound machine actually serves two purposes. Again, we're going back to the womb here. It simulates the sounds that they would have heard in the womb. And so they're recreating their sleep environment in the womb. They're recreating that comfort feeling, which is a hugely helpful thing for newborns. The other element to it is it's able to then drown out some of those background noises. So there's a ton of different sound machines out there. We use the Hatch sound machine, which is really, really nice. We've enjoyed that. We also have used this little Amazon one that has been really helpful when you're away from home. Now, you may try all of these things, and some may help and some may not. Your kid may still have bad nights of just not enough sleep from time to time. And unfortunate as that is, that's just kind of life. But what I found the most helpful thing to me is that just trying to understand what is causing my kid to not sleep well, even if it isn't something I can always do to fix it, at least knowing why he's not sleeping well helps me. And eventually, our kids start to figure it out and they start to mold together a sleep schedule that is what you want for them. But believe me, when they're not sleeping, it's not fun. So I hope this has been helpful and gives you some ideas as to things that you may be able to do to help your kids sleep better, and then in turn get some better sleep yourself. If you like this video, hit the like button down below, subscribe if you're not already, and I hope to see you in the next video. Also, I feel like I'm back in the COVID days of where you wear one outfit on top and then sweats on the bottom because no one can see the bottom. Ooh, also, additional note here, I believe my wife is actually making a video on sleep as well. So if you want to know, she's coming at it from a very different approach, all the different things that we did and all that. So if you want to go get more personalized what we've done and not so much just kind of hey, here's what I learned, go watch her video. I'll link it down below. If your wife would rather listen to her speak than me speak, then go do that. See? Sweats.